Welcome back, True Seeker. This is going to be a really brief live stream. In 20 minutes, I got to start my live stream with the people who support the Patreon. Again, thank you to all those people. We are going to begin talking a lot more about football. Today's the Hall of Fame game. Again, you got the Bears and the Texans playing each other, and Lovie Smith coached both teams. And today just happens to be 85 days after Lovie Smith's birthday, which is interesting because National Football League's 85. And of course, Bears fans know that was the last time they did anything. They won the Super Bowl in the 85-86 season, again, winning 46-10 with the revolutionary 4-6 defense. And if only then, people had YouTube, they could have known that Chicago equates to 46 in Gematria. Actually, they didn't need YouTube back then. They could have just gone to the library and read Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages. Again, all sports fans really should read that little excerpt from that book and apply the little ABC 123 code to the alphabet, because a lot starts to really make sense. And you see how bad we've been lied to, how rigged the games are, how ritual sacrifice is a part of it. Last year, we were locked into the Chiefs from before the season began, and we were talking about the death of Derrick Thomas those many years ago, number 58, before the season, where the Chiefs went on to win Super Bowl 58. And of course, in the AFC Championship, they made Baltimore 5-8 versus the Chiefs all time. And Andy Reid won it with the Chiefs staying on 58 losses, where his 58th career loss actually came in the stadium where he won the Super Bowl. They got upset in the regular season versus the Raiders, who hosted. But yeah, Derrick Thomas. The other thing we were saying about his death, in light of him wearing number 58, is that 3 days before the Chiefs won Super Bowl 58, and yes, we are going to talk about Javon Belcher, number 59, with Super Bowl 59 upcoming. But again, Derrick Thomas, number 58, he died on February 8th in history. At the beginning of this year, February 8th, 2024, the 24th anniversary of his death, they put up the Kobe Bryant statue in LA. And again, Kobe wore 8 and 24. They put up the statue on the 8th of the month. 24 years after Derrick Thomas's death, Chiefs win the Super Bowl 3 days later, getting their 24th all-time playoff win to represent Missouri, the 24th state, as Mahomes got his 89th career win, the 24th prime, just like Harbaugh did at Michigan as he won the championship. But we were pointing out how, again, in Gematria, Kobe Bryant equals 58. His full name, the smaller way, Kobe Bean Bryant, is 54. Super Bowl 58 was the 54th of the modern era. Kobe died the Sunday before Super Bowl 54. Joe Montana also equals 54. We got the first Joe Montana Bowl where the Chiefs won it in a 19 ritual. And then 4 years later, win it over the Niners again in another 19 ritual. First team to go back-to-back in 19 years this time, when Joe Montana wore 19 with the Chiefs. But again, we've been talking about how all these things fit together. And we were talking about how that statue of Kobe, the last athlete to three-peat, well, and his teammates on that team as well, but last sports superstar. But how Mahomes could win his third Super Bowl, as he did last year, again, 3 days after they put up the statue of Kobe, because all these things are connected. When Mahomes won Super Bowl 54, it was his 41st pass, was a completion to number 26. It was his 26th completion on his 41st attempt to number 26 to put the game away against the Niners. And again, Kobe Bryant, 41, dead at 41 the Sunday earlier, when Super Bowl equals 41. Bryant alone, 26, like he died on the 26th of the month, the anniversary of Bear Bryant dying. And remember, that was the 37th anniversary of Bear Bryant dying, the football coach. If you run it in reverse, Bryant's 37 instead of 26. But yeah, the Derrick Thomas death no doubt synced up with the Chiefs Super Bowl last year. We were talking about this before it happened. Keep in mind, he was drafted in 89. Derrick Thomas drafted in 89. 89, the 24th prime. Again, Mahomes' 89th career win, winning the Chiefs their 24th playoff game, as the Chiefs get to 4-2 in Super Bowls on the 42nd day of the year, when Missouri equals 42. Again, it's the 24th state, the reflection. Jackie Robinson, black baseball history there in Missouri, ends up losing his son at age 24 when he was Mr. 42. And of course, Jackie equals 42 in Gematria. And again, every time a black quarterback's won the Super Bowl, it's been a 42 ritual. Doug Williams, 42 points, 4 touchdowns in the second quarter. He was the first. Russell Wilson in the 42nd state, Washington. Mahomes on 42 pass attempts in Super Bowl 54. Then winning in Arizona, 42 land. And then winning again Last year, the first ever Super Bowl on the 42nd day of the year, again, making the Chiefs 4-2. And we talked about that in the closing or the minutes after Super Bowl 57 ended. We got that one right when we said, right now, sign the Chiefs up for most likely to become 4-2 in Super Bowls next year on the 42nd day of the year. So anyway, the Chiefs are now in position, and don't understand, this doesn't mean it's going to happen, but the Chiefs are in position to become the first ever NFL team in the Super Bowl era to win 3 consecutive championships. The last team to do it was the Packers under Lombardi, but part of that was before the Super Bowl era. Of course, Lombardi, the Jesuit who died unexpectedly at Jesuit Georgetown the day before the 70 season began. The Super Bowl trophy is the Lombardi trophy. Jesuit Vince. Jesuit headquarters is the Church of the Jesus, spelled with a G. Big G on the Packer helmet, just like in masonry, and modern masonry is a Jesuit creation. But anyway, I got to talk about Javon Belcher on this day of the Hall of Fame game as people are starting to tune into football, because shout out to Roe. Roe's a great student of the work, hard-headed, funny guy from Philadelphia. But he called me up yesterday and he's like, Zach, you remember the death of Javon Belcher? I was just thinking about him because he wore 59. I said, yeah, I remember. I covered that back in the day. So again, Ro called me yesterday, right? Yesterday was July 31st. So I said, hold on, Ro. I started getting on my phone. I was like, I'm going to find my old post on Javon Belcher's death. So eventually I get here and I was like, wow, how weird is that? I said, you literally called me 8 years to the day of me posting about this. And what's weird is I didn't post the day it happened. When the Javon Belcher supposedly going crazy and killing his family thing happened, which then they blame on CTE now, I didn't know Gematria then. I learned Gematria August of 2013. So here we are. In about 2 weeks, it'll probably be about the 11th anniversary of learning this. I don't remember the exact day I learned it, but I just remember it was the middle of August. I'd been out for a few weeks with an injury. I was doing a lot more reading. And in that time, I crossed something and my life became different after that. But anyway, so I just went through the post with myself. I said, here's some things that are interesting. Of course, he wore number 59, right? This was a crazy story at the time. This NFL player would do this to his family. And again, I don't believe these stories. So here was my post. This is everything I wrote back in 2016. And here's the thing, too. I did not know reverse gematria until about 5 months after this post was made. We're going to look at some things that I wrote and now look at it now. And it's just going to be... That's why when we learned reverse, we said, this is the other half of the code, because anytime we went back and looked at older work, it just made so much more sense. And I'll get to that point in a moment. But I wrote then, I said, this man was a ritual sacrifice for Super Bowl 47. Now think about that. Super Bowl 47 was the Harbaugh Bowl, the last Super Bowl in New Orleans, where Super Bowl 59 is going to be. And we know New Orleans is a predominantly black city. Again, that racial code, it's biblical. Again, Motown was founded in 59. Black History Month ends on the 59th day of the year. Ephesians 6, it's the verses 5 through 9 about slaves obey your masters. They announced OJ dead this year during the Masters, and he died 59 days after the Super Bowl. And in Gematria, slave, Negro, Rasta, Blues, they all equal 59. And the list goes on. It's a lot longer list than that. I wrote a chapter about this in my 2017 book, Letters and Numbers. And again, this book, this used to be the link. It's been banned for years now on Etsy. And it's too bad. It was my number one source of revenue before it was banned on Etsy. And that was like back in 2019. But anyway, the death of Javon Belcher. In Jewish gematria, the word kill is 59. This man wore 59, and he goes out with a story. Because imagine, you guys, that he was murdered along with his family, and that's the truth, right? He was murdered with his family, but then what goes in the headlines is he killed his whole family. Imagine if that's the case, and how truly evil that is. Not only to just murder a whole family, but then to just change the story and make it look like he's a really horrible human being. Well, and that's why people shouldn't judge people either, because there's just so many damn lies in this world. But I was writing here, I said the name of the 25-year-old. I knew there was something about 25 and death back then, but I couldn't pin it in gematria. I was just like, it shows up a lot with death. Once we learned to run the alphabetic order in reverse, we said, look at that. Death is 97 when you run it in reverse, 25 when you run it in reverse numerology. 97 is the 25th prime number. I remember all the NFL fans remember the 97th NFL season where they moved the touchback to 25 yards and Brady had the 25-point comeback on 2/5 over the Falcons, which equals 25. But anyway, big death number as well. He was 25. And I was pointing out how the date could be written 12/1 like 121 or 1/12 like 112. Again, we've talked about this over and over with the Chiefs now. Chiefs is 112. Super Bowl's 112. Again, the show Ballers, the episode came out 112 days before Super Bowl 54, where The Rock buys the Chiefs. That was 112 days before the Super Bowl that year, that episode. Super Bowl 112, Chiefs 112. So this Chiefs player supposedly murdered his family on the date that can be written 1/12, synced up with the Super Bowl that had just happened then, Super Bowl 47. Again, the Chiefs were in the first ever Super Bowl versus the Packers versus Vince Lombardi. Again, that was the 47th NFL season. And why did they choose the 47th NFL season for the first Super Bowl season? Again, it's the same reason this nation's birthday is recognized as the 4th day of the 7th month. The Masons, American football is credited to Masonry, kind of like this nation is. Modern Freemasonry is a Jesuit creation. Again, the 47th problem of Euclid, the Mason study, it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So using this formula, you can make perfectly square edges. And again, you study the problem deeper, you can sync it up with the stars. There's a lot to actually the 47th problem of Euclid with the occult and esoteric that goes beyond what we learned about in geometry class. But anyway, it's no doubt where 47 gets its significance from. And it's also a big time number. And these people are always performing rituals in time about this number. Last year, the over-under was at 47.5 in the first ever Super Bowl on the Vatican's birthday when Vatican's 47 like Nevada. And sure enough, the final score was 25-22, 47 points. Vatican's got that 25 as well. But yeah, this man's death was just before Super Bowl 47. So again, we were connecting this all these years ago because we do understand that this is what was going on in sports. When championships rolled around, ritualistic deaths in tribute to the big game. And even understanding that back then, I didn't know how to connect the 112 death to the Super Bowl. Again, I must have never revisited this post since Roe called up about it yesterday, but a lot of posts that we went back and revisited at the time once we learned to reverse, we're like, look at all these things we can add that make so much sense. So anyway, for all people who come and always say like, well, how do you know the reverse is also true too? It's because it's like observation from researching it for 3-4 years before we learned the reverse and then saying like, wow, look at the other half of this. His full name, Javon Henry Allen Belcher, 229. That's the 50th prime. Remember, Chiefs equals 50, like San Francisco. When they won Super Bowl 54, it was their first Super Bowl win in 50 years. 49ers used to be 5-0 in Super Bowls. They became 4-0 with Montana, who won his 4th in New Orleans, where this year's Super Bowl is. Again, Joe Montana equals 54. There is a chance the Niners go to another Super Bowl and lose and become 5-4. Be funny if they got their 4th loss in New Orleans as Mahomes got his 4th win and they did it again. But there's other scenarios that could happen. It's just in terms of how they do rituals by the numbers. Again, we're at the beginning of our detective work. We're going to see if we can solve it by the time the season begins and get another 2-team future correct. We've done it a number of times before the season began. We've done it several times a few weeks into the season. There's been some years where we couldn't figure it out until the playoffs came around. Again, the goal is to try and get them both right before the season begins, because then you can turn a $5 bill into, like a $500 nice little payout. Small wager. If you did your homework well enough, you get a nice reward. Instead of getting an A+, you get your property tax money or whatever. Anyway, Javon Belcher. The other things about this, from his birthday to the death, right? It was 131 days. So this was the point I was making back then. That's how I could see it was a Super Bowl ritual, because we talk about this year after year, 131 in championships. Here, just to make a point, the latest pro sports championship was Dallas and Boston, paying tribute to the JFK assassination. And the next thing you know, it's 45 days after JFK's birthday, and Trump's dodging bullets in a big ritual. But look at this. Dallas Mavericks, they just lost the finals, all-time playoff record. You'll see they're 118 and 131, got their 131st loss, losing the championship. Again, championship equals 131 like Super Bowl. Talked about this for years. But again, Super Bowl also equals 112. See how perfect the Super Bowl ritual, the sacrifice was? That's that's why, it's hard to say exactly what the truth is of how his whole family ended up dead, but I don't think the media story that he went crazy because of CTE and killed his family is the truth. If he did kill his family and himself, I think there was someone behind him saying, if you don't do that, then this happens. And maybe it's even 10 times worse. And he's like, oh my God, I should have never signed my name in blood to be in this rigged ass league. And for those of you guys who don't think it's like that with some of these guys, I know you're wrong. And here, you can prove that you're wrong too. The footage is out there. I heard it with my own ears and I covered it at the time. Go back to the year that, what's his name? Clowney. I can't think of his first name right now. The player who has the last name Clowney, the year he was the top pick of the draft. Go back in and watch the draft coverage. Watch it from the beginning. It's near the beginning. It's right around, I think probably like right as they go to commercial break, either before he gets drafted or maybe it's right after he gets drafted. He says, I sold my soul for this. It's just like, wow, I sold my soul for this? Oh my God, people got to wake up. And I mean, that was years ago now. I mean, what year was Clowney drafted? I know that was a long time ago now. I want to say I was still in the Seattle area. 2014, I was definitely still in the Seattle area. That's over 10 years ago now. But yeah, I was into the research almost a year at that point, and we'd already been going back through history and seeing all these suspicious deaths and how they just synced up with the same championship code. Again, it's the same shit every year. And remember, the Dallas Mavericks finishing on 118 wins, only winning one game against the Celtics. Celtics 118. Dallas, Texas 118. Nothing but scripts. Cancer 118. Remember how they did Bill Walton dirty? Bill Walton dead at 71 as the Celtics advanced to the finals. And on and on and on. Jerry West, a ton of people. Pistol Pete's son. Pistol Pete's kid. Yeah, just. After Bill Walton died, what's the Nuggets player? His brother was dead in Oregon, where Bill Walton won the only championship for the Blazers. Anyway, coming back to this Javon Belcher thing. He died 131 days after his birthday and on 112. So, again, for anyone who's like, well, where did the reverse ciphers come from? Again, you should know if you've been here. I mean, when it was a new discovery, I was announcing like how interesting it was and how much it added. And again, I mean, this is like all this stuff is just way beyond probability to be coincidence. So anyway, isn't it funny though now that, remember, here we are. Who just died the other day, you guys? Remember we said we got to watch out for people connected to New Orleans dying. And then you get two New Orleans celebrity deaths, one an NFL player, one Richard Simmons. His birth name, Melvin Simmons, equals 59. Hold on. New Orleans, Super Bowl 47. Hold on. Is it Jacoby Jones? That's what I'm trying to think of right now. Jacoby Jones. He just died at age 40, you guys. Jacoby Jones, dead at 40. The Super Bowl's in New Orleans, his hometown, on the 40th day of the year, February 9th, 2025. He wore number 12. He played in the last Super Bowl in New Orleans, Super Bowl 47, the Harbaugh Bowl. Again, 12 years later, Super Bowl in his hometown. And remember, the Harbaugh Bowl, John equals 47, Jim equals 32. John, who coached Baltimore, won, gave the 49ers their first Super Bowl loss. 49ers ran the same play over and over at the goal line and threw the ball through the back of the end zone. Yeah, it's sad how this stuff goes on every year, but sadly, these deaths so often are also clues for the rigged outcomes. Like last year, before the Chiefs' 64th season, Norma Hunt, part owner, dies on June 4th, 6-4. Kansas City Chiefs equals 64. That was also the 49ers' anniversary of being established. 49ers Chiefs is your Super Bowl for the 64th season after the death of Norma Hunt. But yeah, here coming back to this. Just looking at the old post and information that would still be relevant to now and potentially this coming season. I have an older post on Derrick Thomas's passing here too linked. Speaking of that 118, he was born on a date with 118 date numerology. And don't forget, you guys, right after the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, you had a shooting on February 14th, 214. Again, the Chiefs used to be the Dallas Texans. JFK was killed in Dallas and the 214 area code, and he died at Parkland Hospital. Like the Parkland High School shooting was on 214. And that high school was named after a woman from Minneapolis, Marjorie Stoneman. And Minneapolis is the 612 area code, and that shooting was the biggest in Florida since the Pulse nightclub shooting on June 12th, 612, 612 days later. And the Pulse nightclub shooting was synced with LeBron in the finals that year, and the criticism he drew for wearing the Undertaker shirt the day after the shooting. Anyway, yeah, it just the same numbers come up over and over in these things. And coming back down. Javon Belcher, he died 64 days before the Super Bowl that year. And that right there, same thing. Kansas City Chiefs 64. You know, last season we're talking about Norma Hunt dead on 6-4 before the Chiefs 64th season where they win the Super Bowl. 64 spaces on the chessboard. These people making moves years in advance. You know, don't forget the Illuminati founded by a Jesuit 64 days before July 4th, 1776. All right. But yeah, Javon Belcher, you know, number 59, big time story synced with the last Super Bowl in New Orleans. You know, I'll tell you another 59. Again, they coded all over Black history. It's Black Mamba, Kobe's nickname. LeBron passes Kobe in points scored in Philly the day before Kobe dies. Again, LeBron passes Kobe in his hometown, Philadelphia, dribbling over black snakes. You guys, Kobe Bean Bryant, 54, right? LeBron scored the 54th points of the game on 25/1, the 25th of January, 251, the 54th prime. Watch my video before he passed. I said that was the reason he was going to pass on that day, and it was interesting. It was close to Super Bowl 54 the next weekend. Again, that was all in the video before LeBron passed with the 54th points of the game, before Kobe's dead the next day. Kobe drops to 4th in all-time scoring. 4 is associated with death. He died 4 years after Moses Malone, who was drafted by Utah, you know, by the Stars, out of high school. Won the championship for Philly when Kobe was 4, saying fo, fo, fo. And in, again, Exodus 4, Moses, like Moses Malone gets his staff turned to a snake, like Kobe's the Black Mamba. Again, Moses Malone literally did the advertisement campaign for Nike dressed up as Moses from the Bible. Moses with the staff. He's holding the staff that becomes a snake. Kobe does the Kobe Bryant after death shoe right after he retires and then dies the year the Lakers get AD. You don't think the Jesuits are running it? Jesuit Order 54. Joe Montana, Catholic 54. You know, all these things. California legends, Kobe and Joe. And I'm forgetting what the link is with Joe Montana in Pennsylvania right now. Is that where he's from? Hold on. Where's Joe Montana from? He is from New Eagle, Pennsylvania. Yeah, he is. He's from Pennsylvania like Kobe. Yeah, just, oh, man. And don't forget how Dwight Clark, who made the catch, died on Joe Montana's birthday. Like, nobody even notices these things. It's like, and he died in Montana. Dwight Clark died in Montana on Joe Montana's birthday. Or hold on, I'm wrong, you guys. I take it back. He died a week before Joe Montana's birthday. He died on the 49ers' birthday. He died on the 49ers' birthday a week before Montana's birthday, but he died in Montana. That's what it is. Got to be exact with these things because the pros, they want to think somehow everything's a coincidence so they can keep watching their rigged football game and feel like they're not a guilty party connected to all this. Yeah, again, you support these leagues, you're a part of this. You're buying their tickets, their merchandise, you're a part of this. The ongoing blatant ritual sacrifices, some of them years and years in advance. Derrick Thomas, 24 years before the Chiefs win their 24th playoff game, again, becoming 4-2 in Super Bowls on the 42nd day of the year. And again, we know how those numbers are connected to slavery. And most of these rituals are connected to young black men. But yeah, thank you, Ro, for the Javon Belcher reminder. And again, there's a lot more we've been talking about. Here, again, some years we're able to just have a perfect pick before the season begins. Some years we need some clues. Last year, we liked the Chiefs a lot before the season began, and we said, watch this. If the Chiefs start the year 4-1 versus the Minnesota Vikings, I said that's a great sign they're going to win their 4th Super Bowl this year as a team and become 4-2 on the 42nd day of the year. And why did we say that? Because the Chiefs won their first Super Bowl, Super Bowl 4, over the Vikings. They'd be 4-1, the big Super Bowl number. Remember, Mahomes got his 41st career road win advancing to the Super Bowl this year in Baltimore, which equals 41 forwards, 58 in reverse, like, again, how the Baltimore fell to 5-8 versus the Chiefs 2 Sundays before Super Bowl 58. But we also, I told people that if Mahomes did not throw 2 touchdown passes, I said, honestly, if you bet on Mahomes to throw 2 or more, and he does not, I said, I'm seriously giving you the insurance. Oh, it's not really insurance policy, but I said, the next time I'm out in your city, pound and pavement, you can come up to me and tell me you took that bet, and I will let you punch me in the face. Again, that was sadly part of the deal. I doubt anybody would have done that to me, but the reason I felt so confident that Mahomes would throw at least 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl was because if he did, he'd have 41 for his career in the postseason, and that's exactly what he did. His 41st touchdown was the one in overtime, the freebie play for McCole Hardman's 19th career touchdown to, again, win the game that went to OT 19-19. To become the first team to go back-to-back in 19 years, with Montana watching at age 67, which is the 19th prime number, plus Kansas City also has that 67. Kansas City Chiefs 64. That's how many net passing yards Lamar Jackson had at halftime in the AFC Championship. Decided not to run the ball all game or really complete it at all, just for a nice little 64 yards at halftime in the Chiefs' 64th season, when they've been doing the same things year after year. And again, if you went back through all the work we've done on the Chiefs over the years, it'd be tons of posts, games, related deaths, and you just see the same recurring numbers and patterns. I mean, that's what it is. You look at this, you just see the same stuff's happening over and over and over. And we'll find out before long. Was Javon Belcher, was this done to him and his family, at least in part because of this upcoming NFL season, which ends with Super Bowl 59, where they've already done O.J. Simpson dirty 59 days after the Super Bowl. And understand why they did O.J. Simpson before this season. Simpson, 105. It's the 105th NFL season. The face of the league right now is Patrick Mahomes, born on the day, leaving 105 days left in the year. His tight end's birthday is October 5th, 10-5. Should get interesting. 105 is the 14th triangular number. KC's the 14th city. But again, these are reasons to think that all of this could be pointing to this season. But again, we'll look at other things more carefully. Joe Burrow's Mr. 54. He's already done his thing in New Orleans. He's another scenario you have to research in the AFC. Because of O.J. Simpson with the 49ers and the Buffalo connection, you got to look at that too. But yeah, this Javon Belcher thing. He was number 59, like Derrick Thomas was number 58. And sadly, there's a long history of this in rig sports. Ritual sacrifice, with the jersey numbers telling you almost everything you needed to know. So, all right, I'm going to hop over onto Patreon. We got our daily live stream. We're going to talk about the 5 games in the MLB today, the potential 35 Thursday, and start getting deeper into the NFL season. So if you want to be a part of the stream, the link for the Patreon's in the description of every video. And yeah, that stream will start in about 10 minutes. So, and we'll go for as long as it needs to go, as long as we have callers. But yeah, so, and for all the people out there who don't like that we take apart the sports, again, I really don't understand what your gripe is with it. I can understand not liking gambling, but again, understanding the rigging of the sports is what's pulled a lot of people out of the matrix. And again, it's definitive proofs of how the game totally is rigged, because we're showing year after year how the sports, the news, the politics, the entertainment, how it's all synced together undeniably if you have enough IQ points, which is around 100. And if you got that many and you can't get it, it's because of cognitive dissonance. You don't want to see it because you want to keep sitting on your butt and worshiping these games that have commanded so much of your life. Sorry, you got to wake up at some point. Truth hurts. The games are definitely rigged. They definitely are killing people. You shouldn't want to be a part of it. You should want to expose it. Again, why not shut this down and bring back real leagues with real competition, without ritual sacrifice, where the house doesn't always win because the casino. Again, you guys, I mean, all the casinos are set up by the mob. I mean, isn't it so easy to see how all roads lead to Rome? Why do you think the mob had so much power and there was so much collaboration with the federal government and the mob in the past? Because Jesuits, Italy, run your nation. All roads lead to Rome. How many gangster movies have they made you where they show you kind of like the gangsters kind of like despise the black people? They kind of, they got words for them and don't really think too highly of them. It doesn't all make sense based on what you see unfold in the world of entertainment and how they use and abuse these men. Again, this man very well right here. If I had to bet on either the official story or it's closer to he was murdered and his family was murdered, I'm definitely betting on that over here. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to win. And I'm pretty sure that's the better payout because the mass public just goes with whatever the TV says. So it must be heavy on the Javon Belcher killed him and his family story. Everyone just believing all the lies. That's the one thing I like about the band Rage Against the Machine is their frontman's name, Zach, like yours truly. And I just like his little thing where he's talking about how people are bowing down to the flag and believing the lies. I remember when I was young and I heard that for the first time, I was like, exactly. This guy's got it. Believe in the lies. And then what's that song called, actually? It's called A Bullet in the Head, isn't it? Because that's how you end up. You end up with a bullet in the head. And some people ended up with like a PF. How do you spell that company? A PFIZ something, jab away in your arm, and now you're not here anymore. And again, who warned about that before they even had the thing out there? We were out there in front of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation warning about all that on March 13, 2020, because we knew what Bill Gates said a decade earlier, because we're up on things. So anyway, thank you again to everybody who supports the work. I'll be over on the Patreon in a minute. Shout out to our friend in Seattle. He says, I remember in a Sonics pregame back in the day, the announcer Kevin Calabro saying one of the players on air said they sold their soul to the devil. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Anyone, go back and find the 2014 NFL draft footage. Not Belcher, Clowney saying, I sold my soul for this to go number one in the draft, apparently. And maybe in a way they do that to kind of like give a truth nugget, but then maybe it makes people think like, oh, maybe only the guy who goes number one has to sell his soul. Don't be surprised if it's a whole lot of them. They're going to do anything in the league. Thank you, 33rd degree free Memeson, funny, and thank you as well, Mr. Aaron. I appreciate that. So yeah, we'll be on Patreon. Link for the Patreon's in the description. You get all written content on the Patreon on the $5 tier. You get all written content plus all live streams, which is almost every day, especially with football season getting underway, on the $11 tier. And there's a newer tier for the sports people. You get all the same content, but it gets you a chance to play in the game each week to win $100. You got to be on the $20 tier for that, though. And yeah, if we can get more people up on that tier for the football season, we've been doing a weekly $100 giveaway now. This is our 11th week of doing it. If we can get more people on the tier, we can have some second place prizes and third place prizes and maybe add another game with more winnings. But again, it does get expensive giving out $100 every week. And yeah, we need more support because, again, support for my work has been on a decline for, again, pretty much since we got back from New York City. September of 2022. It's just a steady downhill. Some months it might spike up barely above the last month, but then by the next one it's down further. It seems like there's an immovable object. So anyway, that doesn't really make sense why it'd be that way, but that's how it is. Big tech's a mother. Thank you to everyone who still supports the work and has found a way to stay on there. I know a lot of you guys say it doesn't let you sign up anymore. It just declines your card every time. I guess that's just what censorship looks like, but for anybody who can get on there and wants to support, show will start, like I said, probably about 5 minutes now. So I'll see you over there. Until next time, True Secret.